Okay. Okay, we do have quorum, so we will begin. Good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Kent. I am the chair of CB2, and this is the May 2023 CB2 full board meeting. We will start off with attendance. So, Mark, if you please.
Oh, okay. Very good. So here we go. Susanna Aaron is absent with notice. So the next is Natasha Avanesians.
Here.
And then Akila Azqui. Pardon my pronunciation. Akila. I say we'll come back. Will Benesh.
Here.
Thank you. Keenberger is absent with notice. Carter Booth.
Present.
Thank you. Katie Bordenaro.
Here.
Thank you. Anita Brandt.
I'm here.
Thank you. Amy Brenna is absent with notice.
Nobody, no. Oh, sorry.
Sorry? Are you here? No, okay.
Oh, that was she was just unmuted.
Sorry, okay. Rich Cacapolo.
Here.
Thank you. Ritu Chetri.
Here.
Hi. Valerie De La Rosa. I know you're here.
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 因为这个76那个变化，
John Paul DeVerna.
那么你那个 password 也要写出来，到时候现在叫你写忘记了就要死。
All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to make Susan a co-host if I can. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right, we'll come back to that. John Paul DeVerna, second call. Not seeing. Chris Dignas.
Hi. Here.
Thank you. Mara Fitzgerald. Thought I saw you.
就是一个就是一
Ed,
个
you should mute yourself.
Ed, please mute your, thank you.
Mara Fitzgerald.
She's here. I see
thought
her.
I saw her somewhere, so we'll say yes. Stella Fitzgerald.
I'm
Oh, no.
here.
Oh, you are. I thought I just had you as an absent with notice, but if you're here, that's even better.
That
Okay.
was Mar, I believe, Mark.
Oh, okay. I thought, okay, thanks. Let me see. Cormac Flynn. Cormac, are you here? I don't see him. Okay. Let's see. Susan Gammy.
Here.
Thank you. David Gruber.
Here.
Let me see. Ann Hager.
Here.
And oops, and welcome. Julian Horkey.
Here.
Thank you and welcome. Wayne.
Thank you very
Kowalski.
much.
Here.
Thanks. Zachary Kazaz.
Yep, present.
Thank you. Susan Kent is yes.
Here.
Here we go. Ryder Kessler.
Here.
Whoops. Okay. Janine Kiley.
Here.
Thank you. And Ivy Kwan Arce.
Here.
I think you missed Wayne.
I know I got Wayne.
Okay.
Thanks. Patricia Larea is.
I'm here.
You're
Here.
Okay. There we go. Michael Levine.
Here.
Thank you. Ed Ma, I think I saw you.
Here.
Thank
Here.
you. Matthew Metzger.
Here.
Thanks. Dan Miller.
He's absent with notice, isn't he?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. There he is. Looking at my own list. Erica Olson.
Here.
And welcome. Juan Osario.
I'm here.
Hi. Brian Tate.
Present.
Thank you. Donna Raftery.
Here.
Thanks. Lois Rakoff.
Present.
Thank you. Bo Riccoboni, we're going to come back to because I think he's in attendees and I have to promote him. Zachary Roberts. Oh, Zachary Roberts, I'm sorry, is absent with notice, right in front of me. Rocio Sands is also absent with notice unless she was able to make it. Rocio, are you here? She did give us warning, so I guess I will count that as absent with notice. Shirley Secunda.
Here.
Thanks. Kristen Shea.
Here.
There it is. Frederica Siegel is absent with notice. Emma Smith.
Here.
And welcome. Dr. Shirley H. Smith. Oh, she was absent with notice too, wasn't she? Yeah. Okay. Chenault Spence? Not yet. Susan Wittenberg?
Yes, here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony Wong? Second call. Cheryl Wu, I think I saw you.
Yes, here.
Thank you. And Eugene Yu?
Here.
Thank you. We're going to go second call backwards, just to make sure we didn't miss anybody. Akila?
Here.
You are. Okay. We'll fix that. Let's see. John Paul DeVerna? Cormac Flynn? I have to go back to Bo Riccoboni and Chenault Spence. And Anthony Wong. Okay. And let me go to okay. So I have 37 present so far. So obviously we have a quorum.
Okay, great, thank you. We are now going to go to public session, which will be run by our first Vice Chair, Valerie De La Rosa, so I will turn it over to her.
Thank you, Susan. Good evening, everyone, especially to our new board members, and welcome to the public session of the May full board meeting. The public session is an opportunity for us to hear about issues that are important to the public. We have a list of just a pretty short list of speakers who've signed up to give public testimony this evening. Speakers had until 5 p.m. today to sign up to speak. I will call out speakers in groups of 3. We will elevate you to a panelist in groups of 3. And once you are called again individually, you can unmute and turn on your camera. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to speak without interruption. And after each speaker, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions of the speaker. Only board members can ask questions during the public session. So from that, we will start with our first 3 names. We have Dr. Eileen Ain, Joseph Reaver, and Jolene Travis. So we could elevate those 3, and as soon as Dr. Eileen is elevated to a panelist, it's your turn.
Please raise your hands if your name was called so we can identify you easily.
Excuse me, Valerie, could you call on somebody else first? Because Dr. Ain is actually in the conference room and I have to go help her unmute.
Okay, sure. We'll go with Joseph Reaver, Jolene Travis.
And if Carter could promote those people.
And Tequila Minsky. So I don't see Jolene and
Hi. Oh, I don't see my.
Your audio only, right?
Am I audio only? Okay. Can you hear me?
yes.
Perfect.
Great.
Wonderful.
2 minutes starts now. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are going on 3 years of the Dapolito outdoors pool, the public pool, our community pool, being closed. And this is unacceptable for so many reasons, starting with our children need a place to go and cool off in the summer, and they receive free swimming lessons at the pool. The second, the Dapolito provides a cooling center, which is so important for our senior citizens. And third, it helps provide free lunches to our community. So I understand that the Dapolito Recreation Center is being repaired. There's a pool that is empty every summer, and there are children who and families and other members of our community that cannot cool off. As we know, the summers are getting hotter, each and every one, with climate warming. So I beg you, please come from a place of yes. How can we get water in the pool? There are so many solutions that we could come up with if we would just partner, think together, and we can come up with a way to help provide our community with a public pool. And I understand that there's been discussions about providing public transportation to other pools, but that's immaterial. We could take the MTA. It's about our neighborhood and having a pool that we can come to as a community. So I beg you, please, for the third summer, get some water in the pool. Do you want to say something?
Please open my pool.
That's my 7-year-old, because we have spent every year.
8-year-old.
8-year-old, that's right. Up until the age he was 5, we were there every summer swimming in that pool. And now
Eileen, we're right at 2 minutes. I just wanted to let you know if you want to wrap up your sentence.
I'm good. I've said everything I needed to say. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this open forum and all the work that the community board too does. Thank you.
Thanks. Next, after that, we have Tequila Minsky.
Hi. I'm speaking for the, to keep the LaGuardia Corner Community Garden.
Oh, okay. So I guess we're not going to Tequila. Is this Eileen? I'm sorry, I can't tell on the screen.
It is Eileen.
Okay, great. Eileen, go ahead and continue. We'll continue with your testimony. I'll start the timer. Thank you.
I'm sorry, do you want me to continue now? or
Yes,
no?
you can continue. Yes.
Okay, so thank you for all you do. And I'm here to represent the LaGuardia Corner Community Garden. It's a 40-year-old garden, and early in its life, NYU had a document to preserve the garden, and I'll produce it the next week, to preserve and protect the garden. It's so important to keep a garden, to watch the growth cycle and to care for life. And you learn this, the children come in and they plant seeds, they watch them grow, they weed, they learn how to be part of the earth in a way that's sustainable and beautiful. The other issue is New York City mental health and how that relates to gardens. When people are in gardens, they usually find a means of solace and goodness. And during the course of the summer, I give a meditation program there, and I hope that you will join us. I'll give all the details as soon as I have them. And so the garden is attached to the supermarket. The supermarket, with their SOS policy, Save Our Supermarket policy, wants to sustain and stay there. And if the supermarket moves, then the garden becomes a staging area for whatever building is going to be built there. So I know that the school was one of the buildings that was going to be built there. But I'm asking to find a place for the school that is out of a gray-haired community and more in tune with what children's needs are in terms of their disabilities. So that's it. And thank you, everybody, for listening. I don't know if I've done my 2 minutes, but that's.
You have about 6 seconds left, 5 seconds left. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions from board members for either of the two speakers that we've heard so far? If not, I will move on. Great. Next, Tequila Minsky, I had called on, Aaron Travis. I know Jolene spoke on Aaron's account, so I don't know if there's an additional person in that household.
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, this is Aaron Travis. Yes, I am the husband of Jolene Travis, and just wanted to expand a little bit on what Jolene covered. So Jolene and I put up a petition on change.org to advocate to the community to make them aware of the Dapolito pool closure. And we have over 540 signatures asking that NYC reopen the pool. And we want to come from a place of problem solving. So we understand that there's some structural issues with the center that were discovered during a renovation project. And our understanding, and part of the issue is that we're not clear, is there's not a lot of communication, is that the renovation project was stopped until they figure out what to do with the structural issues, and the whole center was closed down. So what we're asking for is that you prioritize any safety related repairs that need to be made so that the pool can be reopened in the interim, and really just focus on whatever's needed to make the pool safe, like putting up scaffolding, maybe closing off parts of the recreation center, or setting up an outdoor, showering or cleaning type of situation, so that we can activate the pool and give it back to the community while we wait, for these larger repairs to happen. And the second thing that we're asking for is just better communication about what is happening, because it's too important a part of the community to just sit idle and then be silent about its status and its importance and the time frame in which it can be reopened. And everybody on the petition is very much open, I think, as well, to providing feedback and being part of the problem solving process. So we are definitely interested in working with the community board or NYC government or anybody else who is involved in the project. But we definitely need to work together to get this thing moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next, our next four speakers are Judith Silverstein, Eric Clare, Darlene Lutz, and Pete Davies. So if you could raise your hands and we will get you elevated to a panelist. I'm trying to see who's popped up on the screen because it's not very clear who's been added. Okay, I see Darlene. I see, if you could keep your hands raised, if you've been moved over, just so I can see who's been moved over. Okay, great. We'll go with Eric Clare, then Darlene, and then Pete. So Eric, you have 2 minutes.
Great, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I have lived in my apartment for about 5 years. It's always been a quiet street with respectful neighbors. Unfortunately, beginning a couple months ago, Ribalta, the restaurant at the end of the block, started having after hours parties. They start at around 11 p.m. or midnight when the restaurant is reported to have closed, and they go late into the night. I don't live in the same building as the restaurant or on the same floor, but the sound from their parties carries strongly into my apartment, making it impossible to sleep. And I know that others in my building have reported the same issue. I report the noise to the police, who do respond and shut it down within a couple hours. But the restaurant just starts again the next night, and it seems to occur every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, making it impossible to sleep those evenings. My building manager also reached out to the restaurant, but they stopped responding. My understanding is the rules are pretty clear about noise for restaurants, which is there's restrictions around that after 10 p.m. So they're in violation of the rules. They're ignoring the police, and they don't seem concerned about any consequences for their actions. I reached out to the local council member's office, who recommended that I join this meeting tonight. So I'm now raising it with the community board for your awareness, and would appreciate your help resolving the matter. Thank you.
Great. Eric, can you just repeat the name of the restaurant and the address for everyone, please?
Sure. It is Ribalta, and the address is 48 East 12th Street.
Thank you for joining us this evening. If there are any questions from board members, Donna Rafferty?
I was just going to say, I'm going to put in the chat the where you can file a complaint with the New York State Liquor Authority. You should make a complaint to them, because that's how the Liquor Authority sees the complaints. They don't cross-reference with the 311 complaints.
Okay,
So
thank you for that.
you do that, okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you for
I'll
coming.
do that. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Donna. So next, Darlene Lutz and then Pete Davies.
Thank you, Valerie, and congratulations, Susan. I didn't get a chance to say that last go around meeting, being our new board chair. Thrilled to have you. I am Darlene Lutz. I'm vice president of the First Precinct Community Council. The First Precinct Community Council holds a meeting with the NYPD First Precinct the last Thursday of every month. Our next meeting is Thursday, May 27th at 6 p.m. It'll be via Zoom. I'll put all this in the chat with my contact info. CB2 is served by 4 precincts. The first precinct covers the area redlined in red in my background. CB1 has a significant advantage of being served entirely by the first precinct. It's been my quest to bring some attention to our neighborhoods in CB2 to the first precinct. The attention works better when it's mutual. The commanding officer of the first, which I spoke about last month, Captain Thomas Smith, is still on the job. We don't know how much longer. It could be a few months. It could be until the end of the year. But he's been promoted to deputy inspector. So we want to give him a cheer there. And I think that's it. I hope to see you all on the screen next Thursday evening. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Darlene. Next, we'll go to Pete Davies.
You're muted, Pete.
Yep. Thank you. Hi, I'm Pete Davies, Broadway Residents Coalition in Soho. First, I would like to give a quick thank you to Councilmember Marte for coordinating some much needed repairs to the bulging brick wall at DeSalvio Playground. It's a bad condition that was disrupting play time for the neighborhood kids. And following some outreach from local moms and the Broadway Residents Coalition, our council member accomplished what seemed impossible. And we're all hoping that the DeSalvio water feature will be spraying when summer rolls in. I also want to address new amendments to the existing rules of the Landmarks Preservation Commission, particularly LED illuminated signage and displays. This is an updating of LPC rules, and it's the first time that LED signage is specifically mentioned. Now, we all know we see LED everywhere throughout our historic districts. It's often overwhelming our landmark buildings, rendering them secondary to overpowering advertising while wasting energy by blazing out into the public space and up into our windows 24 hours a day. These proposed rule changes were discussed by CB2 Landmarks Committee earlier this month on May 8th. A public hearing on the proposed rules will be held on May 23rd, and all folks are urged to testify. I'm going to put that info in the chat. Although this is the first time that the LPC rules will address illuminated LED lighting, various protections against this type of heavily impactful illumination are already in place, but it's being ignored. 20 years ago, our former New York City Council Representative Catherine Freed was instrumental in getting protections added to the zoning resolution. Under ZR 4253, with broader coverage than what's under the LPC purview, under surface area and illumination provisions, that is addressed. It calls for the necessary standards to be established by the Department of Buildings, which, quote, shall ensure that illumination on any illuminated sign does not project or reflect on residences or joint living work quarters for artists so as to interfere with the reasonable use and enjoyment thereof, unquote. However, despite that requirement, the DOB has never established those needed illumination standards. So now attention must be paid. This is our chance. I urge the board, the community, and our elected representatives to testify at the LPC public hearing on May 23rd. Let's get this crazy LED lighting under control. Thank you very much. Putting that in the chat.
Thank you, Pete.
Put
And
in
we have
the chat the public hearing info.
Thank you, Pete. Zachary Kazaz, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. And thank you, Pete, for sharing that concern. Are you referring to LED? Are you referring to LED lights in terms of advertisements and billboards, or are you talking about blanket LED lighting that exists to illuminate sidewalk signs, subway entrances, etc.?
Well, what the LPC is addressing is mainly LED screens that are inside windows. So that's what this focuses on right now. There are various illumination rules at LPC, but LED is not specifically mentioned. So this changes the rule up to specifically note LED screens.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Chenault?
Thank you, Pete. This LED question was extensively discussed at the meeting, both from the public testimony and discussion among the members of the committee. There is universal wish that they simply be banned altogether. Failing that, we want some reasonable rules, and in addition to reasonable rules, have them enforced. They're very much a part of the resolution that will come later. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members? We still have 3 speakers that have signed up that have not had a chance to speak. I don't believe they are here, but I'm going to call their name one last time. Joseph Reaver, Tequila Minsky, and Judith Silverstein. If you're on the meeting, if you could raise your hand and we will promote you, but I do not see anyone with that. If there's anyone that did sign up to testify for the public session and I did not call your name, if you could raise your hand. Okay, Ashley. Just one second, she just got promoted, I think. Ashley, are you still here?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Ashley Lilius, and I am the property manager of the residential building Park Village condominium located at 44 East 12th Street. Eric Clare spoke earlier about the same issue I'm going to touch on, which is the ongoing noise issues from Revolta Restaurant. And I'm actually speaking this evening on behalf of the building's board president, Rajesh Udeshi, who unfortunately was not able to attend this evening. His written testimony is regarding constant noise that multiple residents in our building have complained about from the restaurant, which I think Eric noted earlier, is located at 48 East 12th Street. Rajesh Udeshi, board president of Park Village Condominium, 44 East 12th Street's written testimony is as follows. I'm writing this testimony both as the president of the condo board at 44 East 12th Street and as a resident of the building. The loud music and noise coming from our neighbor Ribalta has been an ongoing problem for quite some time. The noise often begins around 10 p.m. at night and continues as late as 2 a.m. Patrons of Ribalta often loiter on the sidewalk, where they also make excessive noise well past midnight. During one party held by Ribalta, patrons even blocked traffic on 12th Street while their party went on and the music blared. The music and noise make it nearly impossible to sleep, and my 2 young children, both under 4 years old, often wake up due to this noise. Multiple residents in our building, including myself, have called 311 and even reached out to the City Council and the NYPD about this problem. I did communicate with a local police officer, Sabrina Villanola, who acknowledged the loud noise is a recurring noise, but so far it has not been resolved. We need immediate intervention, whether it be from NYPD or otherwise. It is simply unacceptable that this noise issue has gone on for so long with no repercussions to the restaurant. Our building is home to many residents who have the right to quiet enjoyment of their apartments, especially at night. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you, Ashley. And with
Thank
that,
you.
I'm going to call for one last time for Joseph Reaver, Judith Silverstein, and Tequila Minsky. I don't see them. Also, I apologize. If there are any questions from board members for what we just heard, please raise your hand and we can address those now. If not, with that, I'm going to close the public session and I'm going to turn the mic back over to our chair, Susan Kent.
Thank you, Valerie. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. And do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions, objections, recusals? None? Okay, the agenda is adopted. Next is elected officials reports. So if do we have any of our elected officials in attendance? Who is here? Let's see. And if not, then any of the reps, if you would please raise your hands so we can elevate you to panelists, that would be terrific. David, you have your hand up if you have a question.
Yeah, maybe it's on your report, but it would be nice if we could introduce the new members and say hello.
David, I will get to
You were
that.
going to get to that. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, I am going to go based on what I see on the screen. So Roy, please, if you please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yes, hello, how you doing?
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I'll lower my hand. My name is Roy Ruiz. I'm the Assembly Member Deborah Glick's Community Affairs person. I am going to leave a link in the chat with a few updates about some of the things that were passed in this past budget that was finalized a couple of weeks ago. Last week, we had a very successful composting event that happened in the West Village in the AIDS Memorial. We were there with sanitation, a member from sanitation's department, Marissa, who was wonderful and helped us out and informed everyone about the upcoming composting initiatives that are rolling out. I think Manhattan will have composting, sidewalk composting coming October of next year. So that's great news. I am planning an Omni event soon, 2 of them actually in July, where we're going to be giving education and presentation alongside the MTA about the Omni system, how it works, how to sign up for it, how to link your reduced fare benefit to the Omni system, and also we're planning a shred event. We don't have a date for it yet, but we're in the process of hashing out the details of our next and yearly shred event, which we hold yearly. And last time I did it, it was in October of last year. So yeah, if you are interested in looking up more of the legislation that passed this past budget season, I know that we successfully passed the Birds and Beats Act that Deborah had, and also the Lead Ammunition Act that Deborah had. Those were successfully passed. So we're really proud of that. And I'll leave a link in the chat so you can check it out.
Great, thank you very much.
All right.
I see next, oh, Michael, I'm sorry, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you quickly describe what will the Omni event involve?
So we're trying to figure out whether it's going to be an education event with questions and answers, and then a small time allotted for helping people sign up for it in their own tablets or phones, or also sign up for the reduced fare benefit through paper applications. So we're trying to figure out whether it's going to be that or it's going to be strictly a tabling event. But yeah, right now we have those 2 dates in mind, July 12th and 19th. But right now we're working on the location, and as soon as I have that, I'll share the flyers.
Thank you very much. This is very well needed. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
No, please.
I would like to encourage the time to help people sign up. I'm not totally naive about computers, and I had a terrible time, and I called and got scant help from the person on the line. So I think hands-on help would be much appreciated.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great that they're helping out people like that. Thank you, Chanel.
Okay, I saw, let's see, a variety of people. I saw Caroline I saw her before from State Senator Brad Wellman-Siegel's office.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, Susan. Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline Wexelbaum from State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel's office. I dropped our board report in the chat. I'm sure many of my colleagues will be talking about the state budget that passed earlier this month. We have a pretty comprehensive recap of it in our board report. But just to give you some of the top line items, since I'm one of the first to go, it was a $229 billion budget, which makes record investments in public education. There's over $1 billion in new funding for mental health efforts, which includes 850 new psychiatric beds, which the senator had fought hard for, increases the minimum wage and ties it to inflation. There's new funding for public defenders, emergency rental assistance for NYCHA, and just a few local priorities. The senator was able to secure $7.5 million for the first LGBTQ+ museum, which will be located at the New York Historical Society. It's yet to be constructed, but it's underway. Few other updates. Many of you probably heard that E. Jean Carroll won her case against Donald Trump, which she was only able to bring against him because of the Adult Survivors Act, which is Senator Hoylman-Siegel's legislation that provides a 1-year back window for survivors of sexual assault to bring civil cases against abusers. So that was cool. And there's a link to the daily podcast, and you listen to it, which talks about it. It's a really good one. And we have a lot more in our board report, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And somebody does have a question, Shirley.
Yeah, actually, a very small budget item. I'm just wondering if it was included, which was Senator Hoylman Siegel's proposal for a study of West Street and the Hudson River Park. Did that get in there?
I wish it had. This was a big conversation. We pushed very hard for it as part of the Senate One House, which is like the Senate's response to the governor's budget. We did include it. It was included as part of a larger group of studies of different roads that we wanted to be done. I believe it was a $16 million item, but that included a lot of different studies. Unfortunately, it did not make it into the final budget. We're still trying to find different ways of doing that, but we have been in touch with Senate Finance.
Okay, thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, Shirley.
Seeing no more questions. The next person I see, Biani Rodriguez from Councilmember Rivera's office. I know you're
Hello,
here.
everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my name is Biani Rodriguez. I'm the Community Outreach Director at the Office of Councilmember Carolina Rivera. I already dropped our board report in the chat, and I'll drop it again. I just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update on our upcoming events. So this Saturday, May 20th, we have an NYC Government Hiring Hall at 31 Chambers Street at 10 p.m. They're doing interviews on site, so please bring your resume if you're attending. Also, we had our small business webinar yesterday, and thanks to the support of ABIMA, Village Alliance, the NoHo Bid, and Pace University, we had over 60 people registered for the event, which was great. Also, we are planning a local law 97 info session on May 30th at 6 p.m. This will be a virtual info session. Unfortunately, I don't have the Zoom link with me, but if you wish to attend, just send me an email. I will put my email on the chat. And also, I wanted to address one more thing real quick. I noticed that a lot of people had noise complaints. I just wanted to let everybody know that after 11 p.m. for noise complaints, you have to call 911. I just wanted everybody to be aware of that. And thank you so much.
Thank
That's
you.
For tonight.
Will, question?
Hey, Biani, thanks so much for getting this local Law 97 stuff on the calendar. I know we've been asking about it for a while. I just wanted to suggest that you maybe reach out to the offices as well of Eric Botcher and Chris Marte, because I have separately been working with them for a few months to try to get something on the calendar, and it hasn't been super easy with DOB. So to the extent that we can kind of make sure as many people as possible hear about this session, even across different council member districts, I think it makes a lot of sense. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for letting me know. Everybody's welcome to attend. I'll make sure to reach out to them and give them all the information for the event.
And is it DOB attendees will be there?
Yes, DOB would, they're presenting, and they're also going to be addressing a few of the FAQs that constituents are having.
And thank you so much.
Can you post the details in the chat?
Yes.
I saw Stacy Johnson from Senator Kavanaugh's office.
Yeah, hello, I'm Stacy Johnson from Senator Kavanaugh's office. We also have some highlights to discuss from the budget. So the budget was passed very late, but Senator Kavanaugh is very excited about the All Electric Buildings Act, which got included as part of the budget. So that extends the law that we already have in the city to the rest of the state, in the sense that new buildings will now have to go all electric. So there are some dates that change. So the dates, it doesn't start immediately. It's 2026 for smaller buildings, and it's 2029 for larger buildings. And there are exemptions for things like manufacturing and laundromats, things like that, that might need to rely on gas still. But that's a really exciting addition to the budget. But then again, just reminder, it's not, nobody's forced to change anything about their stoves or their heaters. It's really for new construction. And another thing that was included in the budget was some funding for ERAP. So that was the assistance to renters during the pandemic, but the money had run out, and NYCHA residents and Section 8 residents had been excluded or deprioritized. And so they got extra money in the budget, in the final budget, to accommodate some of those people who are on the list so they can get their rent arrears paid. That includes not just people in NYCHA buildings, but Section 8. And it's $391 million that was not in the governor's original budget. So that was exciting news it was like a big housing win in the budget. A couple more things, the homeowner protection program, $40 million, and then additional money for legal representation for tenants, 35 million in last year's budget, but 50 million in this year's budget for across the state, and 10 million for New York City residents. And then a little bit more attuned to what's going on in the city. The budget included language that makes cannabis sales enforcement a little bit easier. So we should be able to see soon more enforcement of illegal cannabis sales. What it did is, before the Office of Cannabis Management and the Department of Taxation could only regulate businesses that had a cannabis license. And so now this gives them the authority to regulate any business that's selling cannabis, whether or not they have a license with the department or not. So that's good news. It also has language to make sure that you can't sell cannabis in indirect ways. So some people were selling a membership and then they were able to get cannabis in exchange for the membership. Those kinds of things are now also not legal. So I think there's some money too for staffing. So it might take a little bit, but eventually the Office of Cannabis Management, OCM, they're going to be able to enforce a little bit stronger. The legislation for the session that's coming up. So we have a very short session because budget took so long. Really quickly, battery recycling bill, that's for rechargeable batteries to make sure they don't go into the waste stream. A golden day bill. This would allow voters to register and vote on the same day during the early voting period. So those are two bills that Senator Kavanaugh is working really hard on in the next month. And just
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just a few local things. Senator Kavanaugh was able to tour Grace Church School and talk to middle schoolers about what it's like to be a senator. And he chose Christine Dotz Romero as his Woman of Distinction for the year, and she runs the Lower East Side Ecology Center. And he is also working hard right now to try to bring greater affordability to the World Trade Center, 5 World Trade Center affordable housing development. That's it. And I'll put my info in the chat, of course.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I do not see any questions. So let us go to the next person. Kevin Williams from Congressman Goldman's office.
Yeah, thank you so much, Susan, and congratulations again. Good evening, everyone on CB2. It's always nice to see all of you in my old stomping ground from from State Senator Brad Hoylman Siegel's office. I just wanted to give two very quick updates and one greeting from the congressman to say happy Asian American and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Congressman Goldman is an executive board member of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and we're eager to celebrate the achievements of AANHPI community. The biggest thing I want to say is what we're seeing a huge influx of right now is appointments for passports. I have to remind everyone, if you do need help with us, all of you live in our district, please reach out to our office. I'll put our info in the chat. Anyone that needs casework done with our office has to submit a privacy release form, which is why we direct a lot of people to the website, which I will drop the link in for there. Please fill that out to submit a casework request, and we will get you sorted out. It just has to be 2 weeks before your travel date before we request an appointment for you. And then next, I would just like to say that Dan has requested some federal funding for the MTA Zero Emission Electric Bus Program. This was a fiscal year 2023 lower no emission vehicle program that the congressman has called for more federal funding for that. We obviously know we're in a climate crisis and we'd like to lead on this. I've been trying to lead on climate issues as we are what we call a coastal district, where everything in our district is on the waterfront, everything in lower Manhattan, and then on the west side of Brooklyn. So we're looking to lead there. Anyone have any questions? I'm happy to answer it. And it's good to see everyone tonight.
And we have a question from Will.
Hi, Tevin. So great to see you. And I've been saying that we're a coastal district for years here, so I agree 100% there. Just curious, what is the amount of funding? Is there a specific amount that's been requested for this zero emission bus program?
Yeah, if you look online on our website, we have like the specific release for that and also our board report for there. It's for phase 3 portion of it, which I know I have in here like what that looks like, but not the specific number. I think in our press release we have that, so I can get that for you if you need
I'll
to.
take a look there. Thanks so much. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you, Tevin. Next, Nicole Barth from Councilmember Botch's office.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Nicole Barth. I'm the CB2 liaison to Councilmember Eric Botcher's office. Just a couple of announcements tonight. May is National Foster Care Month, and thousands of children in New York are in need of loving homes. Next Wednesday, May 24th at 5 p.m., Councilmember Botcher will have a panel discussion with NAC and You Gotta Believe about becoming a foster parent or an adoptive parent, and I will put that in the chat. Our big news this week is that we made our participatory budgeting announcements. In third place, we had the Theater District pedestrian safety upgrade. In second place, we had bathroom renovations for public schools, which included one school in CB2, which is the NYCI school, and something that affects all of us district-wide, the number one win with 2,199 votes, street tree bed expansion. So we are trying to give new trees and old trees a chance for a better life, and also to withstand the really brutal summers and able to have more dirt, more room to grow and to accept water. As always, we have our 2 clinics every month. The second Tuesday of each month, we have our housing clinic, and the second Thursday of every month, we have our Scree and Dree clinic. I will put all the information, including the phone numbers for the office, if you would like to call, and we can get you on the list for those. Other than that, I think that's all the news I have for tonight, and wonderful as always to see everybody.
Thank you, Nicole. I see no questions, so I will next call on Henry Lynn from Councilmember Marte's office.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Henry Lynn, the committee liaison from Chris Marte's office, District 1. A few things to start. Number one is that the city dismissed, not the city, but the New York County Court dismissed another lawsuit that's brought by NYU to go against the prohibition of college and university uses restriction that was placed by the city council. Council member Marte has been a supporter to against the usage of dormitory by NYU, and he wrote an affidavit to show cause in support of no dormitory use to help the case. Another update on the legal side, the Elizabeth Street Garden lawsuit. To our knowledge, the developer has filed an appeal on the decisions that was handed down November 1st in 2022 in support of preserving the garden, the Elizabeth Street Garden, community garden. We file a amicus brief in support of the Elizabeth Street Gardens case at the end of last month. Then a few other things. We are sponsoring a bike helmet giveaway in Seward Park between Canal and Axis on Sunday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's first come, first serve basis. So welcome everybody to come take a look and get a helmet. And then another thing that's related to CB2 is that there's a proposed plan to change the rotary area, the Holland Tunnel rotary area, into a park. It's close to CB2, but that is something in the discussion, and we would like to hear from CB2 and what their opinion, how they want the park to be. This is in CB1, but it's close enough that that CB2 should. We think that CB2 should have an input on. Last two things is that we have the funding in place for the planting of new 100 trees. Several of them is, I think at least 1/3 of them, it's going to be in CB2. That's something that we're happy to announce. And then in partnership with Sanitation Foundation, last weekend, we clean up in the Sarah Roosevelt Park area. It's 2 blocks away from CB2, 100 pounds of trash last weekend. And council member was there helping the effort as well. And we also participated in the 6th and 1st precincts community meeting, and we are happy to report that major crimes are down in the 28-day period compared to last year. We're open to questions, and always nice to see everybody here.
And we have questions. Bo, please.
Yeah, hi, Henry. Thanks for the report. I wanted to thank Council Member Marte for his letter regarding the NYU lawsuit. I just want to report, for those who don't know, that this week the judge in the case rejected NYU's claim and therefore does not allow them to, as of right, expand in Soho or NoHo. And that doesn't prevent them from filing a special permit on an individual application, but the as of right is gone, as it should have been, and as was the case in the Soho NoHo rezoning of a few years ago. So anyway, thank you, Henry, and thank you to Councilmember Marte.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bo. Ivy.
Hi, Henry. Can you explain, actually, just like briefly about, I guess that's what Bob was talking about the NYU no usage dormitory. What does that really mean?
Yeah, so as part of the Soho NoHo rezoning plan, when it was passed, City Council attached a restriction saying that no dormitory use or classroom use is allowed as part of that plan. And there has been lawsuit going on, and NYU lost the lawsuit several times, and they brought it back again recently. This is according to the knowledge that I had, is that they are challenging whether or not the city council has indeed the authority to make that restriction. And the judge basically dismissed the lawsuit, saying that they don't even have a ground. They don't have legal standing in this case. They did not suffer any damage or injury in this case. So they basically threw out the lawsuit that NYU filed recently.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Zachary.
Yeah, hello. I had a question about the Holland Tunnel reorientation in the park that's being built. Just curious, with the move to congestion pricing that was just passed, of course, by the Fed, is that whole area need to be re-envisioned so that there's also a tolling area for cars that are coming off the Holland Tunnel?
I don't know exactly how I don't know the information as to how it relates to congestion pricing, but I could find out for you. But the plan that I heard seemed to not be related to congestion pricing. They're trying to just reorganize the things that are under the rotary to make it into a park that people can use. So I don't know if it's related, but I can find out for you, and I will take down information, and also I give you my contact so we can I can find out for you if they are indeed related.
Yeah, that would be great. Just at least insofar that if they are making changes now, better to make them once rather than having to do another set of changes in a year or so.
You are absolutely right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions, I have Peter Tsay from the Manhattan DA's office.
Thank you, Susan. Good evening, Community Board 2. Okay, for the new board members and those who have not met me before, my name is Peter Tsay. I'm the Community Liaison for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Thank you for having us here at your meeting tonight. I'll leave my contact information and anything I say here in the chat after I'm finished. Tonight, I just want to give 2 updates on grants that the District Attorney's Office has out there. First grant for crime prevention, we have grant opportunities for community-based organizations to proactively prevent youth gun violence. The grants, the proposals are due at the end of this month, and I'll put the link on how to apply for those in the chat room. Second grant we have is for crime victims. We're working with the Criminal Justice Investment Initiative to develop a network of court-based navigators so that we can get help for victims right at the courtroom, give them their witness aid services, whatever they need. So that's one grant we have out there for crime prevention, one for witness assistance. I'll drop both of the links in the chat room for anybody who's interested. We appreciate it if you spread the word for us. Finally, big topic, retail theft, retail crime. So last year, the District Attorney's Office set up a small business alliance. A lot of these crimes happen in small businesses in our community, within our community boards. We are continuing to work with them, having new meetings, having new input from them. These are starting up in June and July. And more information follow. We take the input from our small business leaders to go back and work with our law enforcement people, because that is an issue that's important to everybody. Those are my updates. I'll be open to any questions on my updates or any questions in general that we can help you with. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't see any questions. So next is Andrew Chang from the Borough President's Office.
Hello, Susan and everybody. First off, I want to say thank you to those community board members who served on the board, who are no longer on the board, and congratulations to those current members who are still on the board, as well as a warm welcome to new appointees. We sent out decisions yesterday, so it's I was glad to see some of the new appointees here at tonight's full board meeting. I want to say that the borough president has been vocal against the rent guideline board's proposed rent increases for rent stabilized units. And he's going to continue advocating against the proposed increases. This, hurts a lot of people. And now is not the time to be having these increases, especially since we had increases only a few years ago. And then I guess the last thing I want to mention is that we're having a joint AEPI Heritage Month celebration with State Assembly Member Grace Lee tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. at the Manny Cantor Center on East Broadway. It's not in Community District 2, but it's close by, so it's open to everybody. And I put the Eventbrite link in the chat earlier tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I see no questions. Okay, so did I miss any of the reps from any of our electeds? I apologize if I have. Please raise your hand just in case. Okay, then I got them all. Okay, next is my report. This month is a month of a lot of changes. We, first of all, I'm very happy to announce that we are having a special open seat election. We now have a nominee for the office of Assistant Secretary. Brian Pape has generously self-nominated himself. Even though it's a formality, the rules do require us to run an election, which we will do in a little while. We have also have a new rep to the Bellevue Community Advisory Board. Ritu Shatri has also volunteered for this role. It's something that has a seat that has sat empty for a while. It was last held by Lois Rakoff, but now we do have a rep, so that's good news. We also finally got our new members. Yesterday afternoon, the borough president sent us the names of our 5 new members, and I'm very happy to see that I think they're all here. They are Emma Smith, Erica Olson, Ann Hagar, Zachary Pizzazz, and Julian Forkey. Welcome, welcome. I really hope that you will take the opportunity for the next few months to attend a variety of our meetings to see what interests you. The office, we will be reaching out to you to do an orientation and to let you know that the borough president's office will also be reaching out to you to do their onboarding. They have a new practice that they began last year, apparently quite helpful. So be on the lookout for those notices. And of course, because we have 5 new people, that means we are losing 5 of our members, very valuable people. Janet Liff, Mustafa Osman, Adam Zeldin, Robin Rothstein, and Bob Ely. Terrific people, terrific contributions. Robin was a former chair of Arts and Institutions, and Bob is the outgoing chair of SLA2. We will miss you. You know where to find us. And thank you so much for your service. Let's see. A few things, 2 things that were discussed at Borough Board today. I'm happy to announce there has been not a major one, but a change in the open meetings law. Not what we were hoping for, but now the open meetings law does permit people who are disabled to participate virtually in a hybrid meeting and still count towards quorum. So it's a small change, but it's in the right direction. And we are still pressing for resources that will hopefully enable us to conduct hybrid meetings going forward, whether they are committee or full board. It is a problem that is not just ours, but I find that the boards all over the city share this difficulty. A second thing, we had a presentation on the upgrade to the cannabis law. The current budget had finally put some enforcement teeth in, gave the OCM enforcement teeth. Some of the things I know that Stacy Johnson had mentioned, but the new enforcement powers not only allow enforcement against sellers, but against landlords. Landlords can in fact be fined up to 3 times monthly rent for leasing to illegal operations, and fines to sellers can go as high as $10,000 a day. If anyone wants more details, we'll be happy to provide. Let's see. There also, that was mentioned earlier, there is the LPC hearing that's on the 23rd, which is dealing with amendments on a variety of things, from storefront signage, sidewalks, solar panels. I know that Chenault has mentioned how engaged Landmarks has been. If anyone is interested in testifying, please go to the website and fill out a speaker's form so that your voice can be heard. This month we had DCP gave a presentation to our land use and zoning committee about the carbon neutrality and the city of, that's one of the 3 city of yes proposals from the mayor. The comment period runs until July the 3rd. This is something, of course, the real question is, how does it affect us? This is we're having cross involvement involving both land use and quality of life and landmarks. Anyone who's interested, please attend our meetings, because this is, we're in the process of preparing a response to the proposal. Let's see. Oh, 5G towers. I know that we had some requests from both board members, and the office has received requests regarding people's interest in being appointed as consulting parties. A consulting party under Section 108 of the National Historic Preservation Act involves people or individuals having demonstrated legal or economic relationship to a project or concerned with the project's effect on historic properties. We do not name consulting parties. That's something you would have to go to the FCC, apply to them to do. But I brought it up today because I want to be sure that it's possible for one of our members to seek such appointment, if there's no, to be sure that there's no conflicts with their status as a board member. And I will keep you informed once I get information from the Borough President's Council's office. Yes, Natasha.
Hi, thank you so much. You mentioned that folks were responding to the City of Yes, the carbon neutrality proposal. Could you just elaborate like which committee that's coming from, what the process is? Sorry if I've missed an email.
Well, it's, I think I would say that the lead is being taken by land use, but it is also involved, because of who we are, it's involving input from quality of life because of the resiliency components, and from landmarks because of the changes, the zoning changes and the impact they would have on our landmark districts.
Great, thank you.
And Lois.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Congratulations to Ritu. I was the chair of the Community Advisory Board of Bellevue for several years, and if she wishes to reach out to me, I will help her and I will confer with her. Currently, I'm on Gouverneurs Community Advisory Board. I'm not sure if, Sue, if you are aware of that. That's a borough president CB2 appointment for Gouverneur Health down on Madison Street. So now you have two people involved with public health and hospital, and I think it's great. Ritu, it's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Thank you.
Thank you. David.
Thanks, Lois.
David. Your hand's up, David.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. Can you put a link to the information about the new enforcement regulations, you or maybe more, for the marijuana stores? You went over it pretty quick, and I was just wondering if there's a link that you could put into the chat.
Absolutely, absolutely. Cannabis, not marijuana.
That's what I said.
Your turn.
You misheard me.
And yes, we will put a link to it in the chat for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I have one more item. Thank you, Janine. There is at least $391 per child in pandemic food benefits available to each New York City public school family. All families with children who attended K through 12 in the city schools are eligible. Those in charter, private, and other schools or pre-K who received free meals through the federal school lunch program are also eligible. And we will put it, we will also drop a link in the chat for that information. And if there's nothing, any questions? Otherwise, that's the end of my report. And I will turn it over to Mark for the district manager report.
Thanks so much. If I could just jump right on the end there with respect to the free and reduced lunch folks eligibility. Some parents may feel funny about accepting that benefit. It is possible to accept the benefit and then donate it to a food pantry or another organization. So it's a good idea to take advantage of that funding, which would otherwise disappear. With respect to the main part of the district manager's report, I'm just following up a little bit on our election this evening, with thanks to Brian for stepping forward to be the assistant secretary. We're following our bylaws in holding this election, and one aspect of our bylaws is that we need a tally committee in order to count the votes. It is not hard because we're using a Google form that actually adds them up for you. But this is the process by which our bylaws call for the certification of the vote. The tally committee consists of a representative from the borough president's office, and thank you, Andrew Chang, for doing it, a representative from an elected official in the district, and thank you, Roy Ruiz, from whom we already heard, Assemblymember Glick's office. But we still need a third member, which is a committee chair of one of our committees. So if someone would please text or chat to Susan or me and identify yourself, we would be grateful for that support. Susan already spoke about the 5G towers and the consulting party aspects of it. I am also hot on the trail of exactly what kind of process that will involve, because it's not self-evident from the somewhat voluminous code of federal regulations that pertain to it. It is, however, keyed to properties that are either on the National Register of Historic Places or are eligible for it. And the eligibility issue is determined by the State Historic Preservation Office. So this may slow but not stop the implication of these matters. Let me see. With respect to the open meetings law, we do not yet have in hand the extension, but we expect one. They may be short-lived, but we will keep you up to date on that. And we're working on the district needs statement coordination with the other 11 community boards in Manhattan. I will be working with the chair to send to committee chairs hopefully a streamlined but still useful process for identifying budget priorities and ways to engage the public to hear from folks about what we should identify as the needs for our community. And I think that's sufficient for tonight. Thank you so much. And thanks for indulgence with the double duty with the district manager's report. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, we are now going into business session. So let's see. First, I need an approval of the minutes, the April minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I assume that there are no nays, abstentions, or recusals. Thank you. Before we were, okay, the next is our special election, but now we should take attendance, which is required for the election anyway.
It's mute. Probably easier if I unmute. Okay, Susanna Aaron is absent with notice. Natasha Avanesians.
Here.
Thank you. Akila.
Here.
Thank you. Will Dinesh.
Here.
Keen Berger is absent with notice. Carter Booth.
Here.
Katie Bordenaro.
Here.
Thank you. Anita Brandt.
I'm here.
Thank you. Amy Brennan is absent with notice. Rich Kakapolo.
Here.
Thank you. Ritu Chatri.
Here.
Valerie De La Rosa.
Here.
John Paul DeVerna. Still a no. Chris Dignas.
Here.
Thanks. Mar Fitzgerald.
Here.
Thank you. Stella Fitzgerald. Stella Fitzgerald. We'll come back. Cormac Flynn.
Here.
Thank you. Susan Gammy.
Here.
Thanks. David Gruber.
Here.
Thanks. Ann Hager.
Here.
Thanks. Julian Horkey.
Here.
Thanks. Wayne Kowadler.
Here.
Thank you. Zachary Kazaz. Yep. Susan Kent is here. Ryder Kessler.
Here.
Janine Kiley.
Here.
Thanks. Ivy Kwan Arce.
Here.
Thank you. Patricia Larea.
Here.
Michael Levine.
Here.
Ed Ma is here.
Here.
Thank you. Matthew Metzger.
He's here.
Matthew
sorry.
There you go. Okay. Dan Miller is absent with notice. Erica Olson.
Here.
Juan Osorio.
I'm here.
Thanks. Brian Pate.
Present.
Thank you. Donna Raftery.
Here.
Yep. Lois Rakoff.
Present.
Thank you. Bo Ricobono.
Here.
Thanks. Zachary Roberts is absent with notice. Rocio Sands is absent with notice. Shirley Secunda.
Here.
Thank you. Kristen Shea.
Here.
Frederica Siegel.
Actually, I'm here, Mark. Thank you.
Oh, you are? Okay. I thought I had you with absent with notice. Sorry about that. Emma Smith.
Here.
Dr. Shirley Smith is absent with notice. Chenault Spence.
Here.
Thank you. Susan Wittenberg.
Here. Thank you.
There you go. Anthony Wong.
Here.
Thank you. Cheryl Wu.
Here.
And Eugene Yu.
Here.
Thank you. That gives us a total of 41 members present. I will now take a moment to update the distribution list. What happens next with respect to the special election is that you will receive in your email a Google form ballot. One of our members has requested to vote pursuant to the bylaws that's permitted. It was requested to vote by telephone, so I will receive that phone call as we call the election. So I'll take a minute to do that and I'll give the floor back to the chair for a moment for when we're ready to do that.
Okay, great, thank you. So we'll continue with the committee reports. If there is no objections, we will continue with the practice of an omnibus, rolling all of the resos into a single omnibus vote. I see no objections, so we will start with human services. Who is doing that? I know Susanna is not with us.
Sorry, that's going to be me again. Can you just start with somebody else so I can bring everything up, Susan?
No problem. Then, okay, next is parks. Rich.
Yeah, hold on. Okay. Here, we had a meeting in which we discussed two topics and we had resolutions from both of them. We first had a presentation by members of the Forest for All New York City about their goals and the New York City urban forest agenda. This was is sort of in keeping with an effort that's been driven by all 5 borough presidents, and all the community boards have been considering this, and so we slightly modified a resolution. It's called the Resolution in Support of Increasing Community Resiliency and Quality of Life through New York City Urban Forest Canopy Protection, Maintenance, Expansion, and Planting. There are several whereases, but we say, therefore be it resolved that Manhattan Community Board 2 supports the 5 borough presidents' goal of planting 1 million more trees by 2030 and endorses the New York City Urban Forest Agenda and adopts a goal of potentially doubling canopy equitably distributed for our community district. And be it further resolved that Manhattan Community Board 2 calls on the city to investigate budget allocation to continue the goal of 1 million trees NYC to plant at least 1 million new trees citywide across public and private lands, with an emphasis on increasing equity and canopy distribution by expanding canopy in the most heat vulnerable communities and in other environmental justice communities. To implement the New York City Urban Forest Agenda, which sets a citywide goal of equitably achieving at least 30% canopy by 2035. Develop and implement a citywide urban forest plan that centers health, well-being, climate resilience, equity, environmental justice, and sustainability. Support the community scale urban forest plans and goals, invest in urban forestry workforce development, increase and equitably distribute public funds for public urban forestry projects, strengthen regulations and develop incentives to protect and increase urban forest canopy on private property, develop and establish tree planting and management standards for all property types, develop enabling conditions to transform wood waste into sustainable local resource, track canopy health and change over time, and invest in citywide stewardship, education, and events. And that was unanimous. The vote was unanimous. And then we had a presentation by the Department of Parks and Recreation about a plan to employ an artist to install a mural on the west and north walls of the court space at J.J. Walker Field, James J. Walker Park. And the artist presented her design, and we liked it, so we wrote the resolution, which ends with, therefore be it resolved that Manhattan Community Board 2 supports the plan to install this mural at James J. Walker Park, and thanks Ms. Masella and Ms. Moreo, who's the artist, for bringing this project to our community, and we look forward to the installation of it. And again, that was unanimous.
Great, thank you. Any questions from members on either of these? Seeing none, any objections to moving these into the omnibus? Okay, seeing none, they are so moved.
Thank you.
Ritu, are you ready?
Yes, sorry about that.
No problem.
So this was a joint meeting along with Community Board 4, which was a co-organizer, Community Board 1, 3, and 6. There was a presentation from elected officials about the focus on both state and city funding and support for mental health services and expanding those services. And our meeting was really centered around what could be done that would be a shorter implementation period rather than some of the longer term projects that are underway. So I'm just going to read the resolution, which is urging immediate funding of programs that can be implemented on a short timeline to support individuals suffering serious mental illness or SMI in mid and lower Manhattan. Whereas New York began to empty state psychiatric hospitals in light of inhumane conditions and a reaffirmation of patient rights, the city and state's public health systems have lacked a comprehensive network of services to treat individuals living with serious mental illness. Serving individuals with SMI has become a heightened priority for the state and the city. Governor Hochul has pledged $1 billion to address behavioral health needs in New York State. Mayor Eric Adams' 2023 plan, Care Community Action, a mental health plan for New York City, describes serious mental illness as an urgent concern for the city and the New York City Council, and has also made it a priority for FY24. Supportive housing is widely recognized as the most comprehensive tool to address SMI and is insufficient in supply. The governor and the mayor have committed to increase the supply of supportive housing in New York City, which will require significant capital investment and political commitment over the years required for building it. The governor and the mayor have
I'm
also.
sorry to interrupt you. Why don't you just read, please, we normally just read the resolve.
Okay. Therefore, be it resolved that Community Board 2 commends the governor and the mayor for committing to expand the number of supportive housing units and hospital beds for individuals living with SMI, and commends the New York City Council for its attention to SMI. 2, stresses that safe housing is the most critical stabilizing factor for individuals with SMI, and urges the city to leverage our existing infrastructure to increase the number of hotel rooms and respite beds available on a short timeline, while the permanent housing that has been promised gets built. 3, urges the continued expansion of the New York State Assertive Community Treatment Program and the New York City Intensive Mobile Treatment Program until the long waiting lists for these services have been eliminated. 4, urges New York State and New York City to offer competitive salaries and to consider regulatory changes that would better leverage the existing supply of mental health professionals to address critical staffing shortages. 5, urges the NYC DOH MH to create a clearer process for consumers and providers alike for accessing the network of services available to those suffering SMI. 6, encourages the expansion of Be Heard into Manhattan below 59th Street with ongoing evaluation of its successful response to 911 routed calls, rapid dispatch, and crisis de-escalation. And 7, sees opportunities for community-based organizations to contribute to the well-being of unsheltered homeless individuals with measures such as shower vans, distribution of hygiene kits, opportunities for shaving and haircuts, access to laundry facilities, respite beds, etc. The vote was unanimous in favor.
Thank you, Ritu. Is there any discussion of this resolution? Seeing none, if there's no objection, I will move it into the omnibus. Oh, I'm sorry, Ivy, please.
So I'm part of that working group, and perhaps I wasn't able to successfully advocate a point, which was to have in the resolution, because I don't know how to write the language, which was when we describe engaging local communities. I know that the goal of that meeting was that all the CBs would have this broad stroke, but I felt that having that broad stroke also needed like individualized parts of community boards, and in that I meant by inviting certain groups that were local in each community space into CB2 to have discussions about how they can participate and have ideas and engagement. And just to be a little more detail is more about like what we saw when we were trying to do when the Grand Street when Housing Works was trying to move into the Grand Street Hotel. We saw how the community reacted. I felt like it was important down at every point that we engaged invitation by community to come into CB2 so that we can have discussions about it. And I wasn't able to successfully advocate that for the community in that resolution.
Are you proposing an amendment or are you looking for more dialogue?
I guess it's more dialogue in the form of inviting the community back into that discussion.
It may be more appropriate for you to take this up with the chair and develop a plan to have discussions, you know, as part of a future meeting. It doesn't sound like what you're talking about is an amendment to this actual text, but is a plan for discussions on specifics with particular groups. Am I correct?
Sort of, yes or no. I have brought it up several times, not just in this in this last presentation that we had. I continually ask for every resolution and opportunities to have us invite the certain communities to participate in discussions like this.
Well, I can only accept if you have an amendment you want to propose, you can bring that to the floor. I can't write one for you, and I can't, so I'm not sure what I can offer you.
It was just a comment.
Okay.
It was a comment to express a huge frustration I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Okay, thank you. I don't see any other hands, so I will move this resolution also into the omnibus. And then the next committee to report is SLA.
Hi, so I'm going to report for SLA 1 and Cormac Flynn is going to report for SLA 2. And before I start my report, I just wanted to take a minute to thank Bobby Lee for his many years of service on the board and for the countless hours of work he has done on the SLA committee in particular. I'm personally going to miss his contributions, and I'm sure the rest of the board and the community is going to miss having him here. So Bob, thank you so much for everything.
Bob.
Okay, so for SLA 1, we had 20 applications and 7 resolutions. All decisions were unanimous. Takeshi Sushi, doing business as Kintsugi at 28 Grand Street. This is an existing restaurant wine license. It's a corporate change. No other changes, deny unless with stipulations, unanimous. 450 West Broadway LC and Louder Tascarella Hospitality, doing business as Principe at 450 West Broadway. It's an existing on-premise for a restaurant. It's a corporate change of a holding company. The managing principal remains the same. That is deny unless with stipulations. Cured Inc., 218 Thompson Street. This is a new tavern wine at a previously unlicensed location. This is deny unless with stipulations. Nujamari, doing business as Marumi at 546 LaGuardia Place, is a restaurant wine. It's a transfer. The principal is retiring and someone who's worked there for 7 years is taking over. So that is deny unless with stipulations. Hakeem Hospitality, doing business as Leon's at 817 Broadway. It's a new on-premise for a restaurant, previously unlicensed location. This is deny unless with stipulations. Night Owl Comedy LLC, doing business as Comedy Cellar at 136 West 3rd Street. This is an on-premise for a bar, tavern, comedy club. Previous unlicensed, it was the McDonald's that was there. That's deny unless with stipulations. and 179 Prince Street LLC doing business as Reveille Luncheonette. That's an existing restaurant wine license. It's just an alteration to add liquor storage in the basement. There's no change of method of operations. They signed stipulations, deny unless with the steps. And then items 8 through 20 are layovers, withdrawals, and one denial due to a failure to appear. And that's it.
Does anyone want to call out any of these resolutions for discussion? Seeing none, and no objection, I will move them into the omnibus. And now Cormac with SLAT.
Yes, hello, everyone. One thing I'd like to say, we met last week. Bob Ely chaired the meeting in his final chairing of a hearing. So thank you, Bob, for that. We heard 6 applications, and I want to actually take a moment because I heard that there are a bunch of new board members. And there are 2 things I just want to clarify because I found it very confusing when I was new, and I think it's confusing. The first is this board does not approve or deny liquor licenses. Only the state liquor authority does that. We make recommendations of what's in the community interest that they not infrequently choose to see differently for community boards, although less frequently with us because they respect our process. The second thing is the language is deny if we're denying it, and deny unless if we approve it. Again, this is language, it's regulatory language in the liquor thing and not a reflection of our views or things. So you'll never hear the word approve, but if you hear deny unless, that means approve. Okay, so our 6 applications. The first application was Elmhurst 3 Inc. doing business at the Village Tavern at 46 Bedford Street. This is on the corner of Leroy. It's that sports bar that's been there for a while. This is existing on-premises license. They were seeking to add outdoor seating, and we voted to allow it. That is a deny unless unanimously. All votes were unanimous this time. The second item was Kinzen Omakase Inc. This is a new tavern wine license. That's at 10 Downing Street, but we put in there also known as 259 6th Avenue because this is on the 6th Avenue side of the building that is 10 Downing Street. It's basically where the Clover Grocery used to be, not the Clover Cafe, near the door of 10 Downing. So that was also deny unless. Kemiani LLC doing business as Champion Pizza at 214th Street. They were seeking a new restaurant wine license to add wine and beer to their pizza place. That was a deny unless. D6 Hospitality, they will have a trade name that they have not decided on yet. They're at 61 Grove Street. This is a space right next to, just to the east of Marie's Crisis on Grove Street. That was, they're seeking a new OP, so a new full liquor license. That was a deny unless unanimous. The Village Square Pizza 2 doing business as Village Square Pizza at 118 Christopher Street. This is Christopher between Bedford and Bleecker. It's sort of slightly off center across from the Lucille Lortel Theater. This is a very small pizza place, about 350 square feet, sort of pizza stand that sought a license because they wanted to have a concept where they would be a speakeasy as well as a pizza place. We recommended a denial. And 78 Fifth Avenue Cafaneo Inc. doing business as Ariston Flowers and Cafe at 78 Fifth Avenue. This is across from the, across the street from the new school vertical campus next to Reminiscence for people trying to get their bearings. This is a flower shop that has a little cafe in the back. Ariston Flowers. People probably know it from the East Village. It's been around for a long time. They've opened a little cafe in the back, and they were seeking a full-on liquor license, so that the idea was that the cafe would morph into a bar in the evenings, a cocktail lounge. There were just a number of problematic questions we had about it on both technical grounds and community grounds. And so we recommended denial on that as well. And that was it. And then, of course, we had the usual pro forma for withdrawals and holdovers and things.
Okay. Thank you, Cormac. Does anyone want to discuss any of the items that Cormac just presented? No, seeing none, well, Mark, he asked me to remind everybody to please all check your emails if you have not voted. We do need this. It is a requirement that we retain written records of all of our elections. So even though this is a formality, we would really appreciate it if you just take the moment to cast your ballot. Was that what you wanted, Mark? Okay.
Exactly, and we're below quorum yet, so we need those votes.
Okay, yeah, we only have about 20 votes and we really need an assistant secretary, please. Okay, so those items now move into the omnibus, and the next is quality of life. Will.
Thank you, Susan. 16 street activity applications this month, 11 FYI renewals. We'll go through them here quickly. Number one, May 5th Supergroup relaunch event, 32 Jones between Bleecker and West 4th, curb lane and sidewalk. That was a unanimous deny as it was a no-show. Number two, May 6th Fever Tree Beverage sampling, Lafayette Street and Bleecker between West 11th and Bank. That was a unanimous deny, no-show. The number three is the Meatpacking District NYC X Design Meatpacking. This was an alteration to their SAPO application. This is going to be on Friday, May 19th. It's actually being shifted to be an event about the history of the Levi Strauss jeans brand. So that's May 19th on the Gansevoort Plaza. That was approval as amended. We need to add in there unanimous. I'll make that change. We didn't put the vote, but that was unanimous. 4 and 5 are two events by Venus, slightly different locations. One's May 18th, Lafayette between Spring and Broome, and one May 20th, Broadway between East Houston and Prince. That was an approval provided that they slightly move the location of the first event further south on that block of Lafayette between Spring and Broome, so it's not right in front of Jack's wife Frida. That was unanimous with one recusal. Number 6, this is the Claw on Broadway sidewalk closure. I believe this is only one day, so we should update that because the application had, I believe this is May 20th, but we'll clarify that on the final version. This is a small, this was an approval unanimous with one recusal. Number 7 is the Crew Crawfish Boil, May 20th, Gansevoort between Washington and 9th. This was a unanimous deny with one recusal. Number 8, Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, May 21st. Couple of curb lane closures here, Gansevoort between Washington and 9th Ave and Gansevoort between 10th Ave and Washington. This was a unanimous approve. Number 9, May 25th, retirement block party for Rosalie Ginevro, Crosby between Prince and Jersey, street closure. This was a unanimous approve. Number 10, this is the High School of Fashion Industries end of year show. This is June 2nd. I believe actually this one may have been moved to another date. So let me double check that one. But that was a unanimous approve. That's on the Gansevoort Plaza. Number 11 is the Bank Street Spring Block Party, June 10th, Bank between 4th and Waverly. This was a unanimous deny, no show. Number 12 is the June 10th Mulberry Event 23, Mulberry between Prince and Houston. deny unanimous no-show. Number 13, June 10th, textures, Crosby between Broome and Spring, deny unanimous no-show. 14 and 15 were a pair of SAPO applications for the Folsom Street East 2023 festival. Weehawken between Christopher and West 10th, and the north half of Christopher between Washington and West Streets. That was unanimous approval. We also asked, as was done last year, as part of the resolution, for continued extensive outreach to neighbors ahead of that event. Unanimous approve. And number 16, this was Super Plastics Experience, Prince between Bowery and Elizabeth, as well as Elizabeth between Prince and Houston. This was a unanimous approve, provided that they move the location of one of the vehicles that they wanted to be parked in the curb lane, because it had they had erroneously identified an area to park it that's actually a bike lane and not a curb lane. So they're going to move that. And that was unanimous approval. And then the 11 FYI renewals are there. And those were unanimous approval. So a lot of street activities this month.
Yes, indeed. Valerie, please.
Great. For the, thanks, Will. For the 3 recusals, can you please, for the record, state what the reason for the recusals are and have those added to the report?
Yes, thank you, Valerie. Yes, those 3 recusals were all Zachary Roberts. And the reason was because I believe he is working for a competitor of each of those different applicants.
Great. We just have that added into the record. Thanks.
Shirley.
I have a question on number 8. Simply, what is the Movember Foundation?
I believe it's a foundation that raises money. I believe it's for prostate cancer research. But it's the same group that does the No Shave November. Or they're one of the people that support this No Shave November concept.
Okay,
I believe it's prostate testicular cancer as well as suicide prevention.
Worthy causes. Thank you.
Ryder.
Thanks. I just wanted to say thanks to Will and the committee for the support of the Folsom Street East Festival. It's an important part of Pride, and I appreciate the committee being a backer of it.
Thank you. And Brian.
I just thought I'd make a point of information on the Venus event. I stopped by there today on Lafayette, and because they had their ice cream truck just off the curb, so all of the line and all of the traffic that might have ordinarily obstructed the sidewalk was avoided. There wasn't a big crowd anyway, but that was a big point of our discussion, and it seems that they didn't move it down the street, but they moved it away from the curb. So that's it.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Before we go to landmarks, we currently have received ballots from 38 out of the 44 people who are present. So please check your email and please fill out the ballot if you haven't. And so let's continue to landmarks. Janelle.
We have 3 resolutions and 2 auxiliary items that I'll bring up separately. The first application is at various locations in Soho to install non-standard pedestrian ramp compatible with pavement in the landmark district with granite paver crosswalks. This has to do with ADA and making certain that they conform to the ADA regulations at the same time, particularly with respect to pavers. Belgian, I blanked. What we call cobblestones. and that they blend
Belgian block,
Bayesian
Belgian block.
blocks. Okay. We approved the design for ADA compliant pedestrian ramps and materials harmonious with the historic pavement at various locations in the Soho Historic District. Lafayette Street, to install a new storefront infill in 2 storefront bays on the Lafayette Street facade and storefront bays along the rear Crosby Street facade. This is a typical building along here in that the front of the building, which is intended originally for the public, is on Broadway and has a certain character, and Crosby Street has a very different character of the tradesman's entrance. We recommend approval of Lafayette Street infill and a clock sign. Approval of the Crosby Street infill, provided that it be modified to have a more industrial appearance, including retention of the high bulkhead, and that an effort be made to diminish the visual weight of the vents. Vents being modern introductions for the air conditioning system, and they necessarily are not a historic look, and to make them minimal. 52 Charles Street, to construct a rear yard addition with a small rooftop addition. Approval of the front facade restoration. Approval of the rear facade design windows, provided the depth of the bay window is considerably reduced. Approved the rooftop addition. Deny the modern design roof railing and recommended its place a simple steel railing typical to similar houses in the district. Approval of this cellar excavation, provided that care is taken not to endanger the building or the neighboring buildings. Do you want to move those, Susan?
Oh, okay, thank you. Is there anyone wish to call out any of those resolutions for discussion? See, oh, yes, Katie.
I just had a question, Chenault. Who was the applicant for the sidewalk, the accessibility modifications in Soho?
It's a division. It's not in here. It's a city division that has to do with sidewalks and pavements.
Department of Design and Construction, according to the chat.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more questions, I will move those items into the omnibus. And that leaves us with one more. This month, the executive committee heard an application for a revocable consent. This was to replace stairs and a lift to upgrade and I guess modernize the existing facility. It's located at 515 Canal Street. The entrance is on Greenwich. This was something that it was a very short turnaround. It's not in a landmark district, so executive committee heard it. The architect came and explained and provided drawings. It is simply a newer and better quality version of what is currently there. And it was approved unanimously by the committee. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, I will also move that into the omnibus. And that is the end of the committee reports.
No, I have 2 more.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I jumped over you.
I didn't.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. The first has to do with the proposal from the mayor's office of setting up some system of cooperation between the Landmarks Commission and the Department of Buildings to ensure that buildings in peril are cared for. We've had two rather dramatic instances why this is important. 14 Gay Street, which through both neglect and willful poor work had to be demolished. And now the two adjacent buildings behind it are in peril and presumably can be shorn up so that they can be preserved. The other instance is with respect to 10 Fifth Avenue, which has been vacated for structural difficulties owing to work that was done 2 doors away at 14 Fifth Avenue. The essence of our document here is that we don't know very much, and we've outlined questions that we want answered. This is something in the early stages. It's not unusual that we don't know details that we eventually will. That this is simply a report and not something upon which to vote. The next one is unusually asking for a vote. Normally, testimony that we give from the Landmarks Committee to the Commission grows out of a resolution that was approved by the board. In this case, no resolution has come to the board, so we're asking directly that for approval of the submission of this document to the Commission. The Commission have put forth a great list of revisions that are basically moving from public review to staff review a number of approvals. Overall, our exception is if something is visible and requires a subjective decision, both for it itself, how it lies into the building, how it lies into the streetscape, how it lies into the neighborhood. We want there to be public comment on it and for the committee to make a recommendation. And it would in turn go to the full commission. One simple example is a rooftop addition. What we would recommend for approval on a row house in the village is vastly different from a commercial building in Soho or NoHo, for example. And it's not by neighborhood, because what we recommend on King Street would be along the village line, obviously. So it's a very nuanced decision that needs to be made about each one. And we feel that that should stay with the public and the committee. In particular, Pete Davis spoke about the LED screens. They are a vast new and regulation unknown area. And separately from this, which is comment on their proposals, we're going to ask for a dialogue with them and try to both influence exactly how this is interpreted and to minimize them, of course. Painted wall signs, decals, interior neon, obviously it shows through the window, are all things that fall into one category of something that shows and the cumulative impact as well as the individual ones' importance. The grayscale vinyl covering is a relatively minor thing. It simply substitutes for frosted glass in a place where it's not appropriate to see what's going on inside. The HVAC equipment, solar panels, and those two particular, we're working with Eugene to coordinate the two committees so that we can have sort of speak with, if not one voice on the same thing in two committees, that would be compatible voices. And rooftop additions are things that we're very particular about, most especially in the village. And what this is a document that will be submitted as written testimony and the basis of oral testimony at the hearing. And Susan, this would be, I think, a separate item to the omnibus.
Well, yeah, it would be, I will record it as a separate item. And what you are, just so we're clear, what you're asking for is support for the statement, so it can be presented, it can be submitted as the opinion of CB2.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will move it as well into the omnibus. We have now gone through all of the reports. And at this point, before we take a vote, I believe we have results of our election. If Mark is,
Here I am. I'm just double checking because we just got an affirmation from all three members. I'm sorry, from two members of our tally committee. Carter, am I correct that you concur?
Yes.
Thank you. So all three members of the tally committee have confirmed the election of Brian Pape as Assistant Secretary. Congratulations and many thanks.
thank you very much, Brian. Next month, it's all yours. Okay, let us now, let's vote. It's time to tally the vote, the omnibus. So it is again, let's take attendance and get people's votes. And what we're voting on, by the way, let's see, there was one resolution in Human Services, 2 in Parks and Waterfront. SLA 1 had 7 actual resolutions, and out of 20 total, the remainder being the layovers and no-shows. SLA 2 had 6 resolutions. Out of 16, the remainder also layovers, no-shows. Quality of Life had 16 resolutions, and the remainder out of 27, 17 through 27 were FYIs. Landmarks had 3 resolutions plus the report, and then executive had 1 resolution, and that is what we're voting on. So Mark went there. Oh, yes, Ryder.
Yeah, I just wanted to say for the new folks, I just remember when I was first appointed, before I went to my very first meeting, Gail Brewer said, don't be afraid to abstain if you don't feel fully up to speed on everything. So I just wanted to offer that as a bit of guidance passed on from previous appointees.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anything before we start the vote? Mark, are you ready?
Yes, I'm even unmuted this time. Okay. Susanna Aaron is absent with notice. So Natasha Avanesians.
Hi, so I on all, but I do have 2 recusals, the parks resolutions, and then also the executive committee resolution. I recently started a job as a senior advisor to the Deputy Mayor of Operations. The office oversees the Department of Parks and NYC DOT.
So just to clarify, are you recused from both parks resolutions?
Correct.
And then as well as the executive?
Correct.
Very good. Got that. Otherwise, aye on all?
Yes, thank you. And
Thank
welcome
you.
to the new members.
Thank you. Keela?
Yes to all, and also welcome to the new members. Thank you.
Thank you. Will Banesh?
Yes to all.
Thank you. Keen Berger is absent with notice. Carter Booth?
Yes to all.
Thank you. Katie Bordenaro?
Yes to all.
Thanks. Anita Brand?
Yes to all.
Thank you. Amy Brennan is absent with notice. Rich Cacapolo?
Yes to all.
Thanks. Ritu Chatri?
Yes to all.
Thank you. Valerie De La Rosa.
Yes to all.
Thank you. John Paul DeVerna is not here, right? Right, okay. Chris Dignas.
Hi, no on SLA 2, number 6, but otherwise I'm a yes.
Got it, thank you.
Thanks.
And Mara Fitzgerald.
Yes to all.
Thank you. Stella Fitzgerald, I'm not sure if you're here or not. You were at first.
Isn't she absent with notice?
Well, she responded present the first time. That's why I'm continuing to call her.
That was Mar. That was Mar. It was
Stella's not been here.
Okay, so that was indeed an absent with notice. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. Okay, so Cormac Flynn.
Yes to all.
Thank you. Susan Gammy.
Yes to all.
Thanks. David Gruber.
Yes to all, and welcome to the new members.
Thanks. And Hager.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Julian Horkey.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Wayne Kwadler.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Zachary Kazaz. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, by the way.
Yep, it's Kazaz. I will abstain.
Very good. Susan Kent.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Ryder Kessler.
Yes, except I'm also going to vote no on SLA 2, number 6. And I'd like to abstain from the landmarks report, the non-resolution submission.
So the testimony one, that's the one?
Right.
And I'm sorry, your vote there is to abstain.
From that one, yeah, and no on.
And no on SLA 2-6. I have it. Thank you. Janine Kiley.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Ivy Kwan Arce.
Yes to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Larea.
Yes to all.
Got it. Michael Levine. Michael?
Yes to all.
There you are. Thank you. Mr. Ma, Ed Ma?
Yes to all.
Got it. Thank you. Matthew Metzger.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Dan Miller is absent with notice. Erica Olson.
I will abstain as well.
Thank you. I've got it. Juan Osorio.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Brian Pate.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Donna Raftery.
Yes to all.
Got it. Lois Rakoff.
Yes to all.
Okay.
Yes.
Bo
Yes.
Riccobono.
Yes.
Got it. Zachary Roberts and Rocio Sands are absent with notice, so we're going to Shirley Secunda.
Yes to all.
Got it. Thank you. Kristen Shea.
Yes.
Got it. Frederica Siegel.
Yes.
Got it. Emma Smith.
Yes, though, can I please abstain from SLA 1 and also SLA 2, all of the resolutions there, and also from the landmarks statement.
And that's abstentions to all of those?
Yes, please.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Shirley Smith is absent with notice. Chenault Spence.
Yes to all.
Thank you. Susan Wittenberg.
Yes to all.
Got it. Anthony Wong.
Affirmative.
Yes, so there it is. Okay. Cheryl Wu.
Yes to all.
Thank you. And Eugene Yu.
Yes to all.
Got it.
Everything passed.
Everything passed with at least 34 votes and some unanimously.
And you got Zach Roberts's, I'm sorry, those were recusals. He's not here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, is there any new business? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Welcome
And
new
welcome
members.
again to all of our new members. We will be.
We got a
you.
very short meeting.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Impressive.
Members, yes.
Yeah. Don't expect this too often, but welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Bye, everyone.
My pleasure. Thanks for your help.